Welcome back, folks. This is Valley Black Talk with The Conversation. I'm Mel Sanders along with Joe Riversmith. And as you know, we have conversations with candidates running for office. We've had it for the last few years during this season, and we're doing it again. Fun time. We got a chance to really kind of ask the kind of questions that are a little different from the debates and other things like that. We have a chance to just have a conversation with folks. So if you're listening or watching, call up a friend or neighbor and say, hey, they got some interesting folks on there we need to hear from. This segment we have running for State Board of Equalization, Conway, who is a very familiar name in this area. I've heard her on radio a lot of times on some other stations, but she's always had some good stuff to say. So welcome to our broadcast.
Thank you so much.
We're waiting for the education that I know you're going to bring us.
Ooh.
Can you tell us about State Board of Equalization?
You know, it's an interesting deal. California is the only state that has a State Board of Equalization. It was created in the late 1800s, about the times when the railroads were prevalent. And as the title says, Board of Equalization, it was all about property taxes, equalizing, how do you equalize and keep it equal among the counties in the state of California. There was some consternation that assessors might have been assessing some property below value because their friends wanted to put the railroad through there. Maybe assessing their other friends over here's property with a higher value, so it would be worth more should something want to happen there. And sometimes when California was that young, the territory was so big that you might cross two different counties and you really need to equalize the value of the property. So that's really why it was created. It's a constitutional office. Not many people have heard about it. It's not very glamorous. It's just about a lot of work. It is involved with property taxes. So the State Board of Equalization is really a taxpayer's advocate, is really what the main part of the job is. But you work with assessors, you work with folks on their appeals, on the property tax. For some reason, it's also involved with alcoholic beverage tax and control, and also some insurance taxes. But it's best known for its property tax.
So why is it that folks who, what would happen if there was not a State Board of Equalization? How much in play does it make, or difference does it make if it wasn't there? How much tougher would it be for local businesses or whatever? You said it's an advocate for equalization. If it didn't exist, how tough would it be?
Well, that is one of the most interesting questions I've been asked about this. Recently, within the past year, the state legislature and also the governor's office decided that the State Board of Equalization was not behaving. Those electeds, I'm not here to beat them up. They're only human. But some of the real reason might be they had too much control and weren't charging people enough. In other words, if you had a property tax issue and you came and appealed, the Board of Equalization was likely to say, well, you know what, ma'am, okay, going forward we'll do this or that, so you're going to win your appeal. So they took a lot of the power that they could through some legislation and created a new bureaucracy, State Board of Tax Collection, right. And they answer only to the governor. Interesting, just today an editorial was written in the Orange County Register saying, so they stripped the BOE of some of its powers. Was that a good thing? Since they've done that, all the assessment appeals, no one's won one.
Really?
So it makes some of us a little suspicious. Elected officials come and go. As I say, we're only human. No one's perfect. But at least when you have a chance to vote, you have a chance to say, I like your performance. I'm going to let you stay and continue. Right. If you're not doing your job, the constituents, the voters have the right to say, adios, baby. So you're out of here.
Two questions.
Yes.
This was voted in by the politicians, by the legislature.
Yes.
And the other one is, What do they do with the money now that they created this new one and nobody's getting a break anymore? So that means they're going to collect this money. What do they do with it?
Well, it's a nice little pool of money, isn't it? Somehow they manage to spend all the money that they collect. It goes into, it has some silos where it will have to go, but in the general fund, in the general budget, where things go to get lost, where things go to get lost.
The yearly office
whatever
department party.
Whatever suits their whim is all I'm going to say.
So, with regard to property tax, I have always been interested. I thought that property tax was, just basically set by where you live. If the houses sell for high and the infrastructure is good, your property tax is going to be higher. If not, it's going to be lower. Is there a little more to the system than that? There's a little more to the how property taxes
it does it well. It comes and goes, and it can flex. When we had a little bit of a recession,
right? My property tax went down.
Yes,
that was nice.
So that was a good thing. They haven't quite caught up yet,
right?
But they will.
Thanks.
Enjoy that while you have it, because each county. There's 58 counties in California, and they all have an elected assessor. So the assessor is really doing that on a local level. And so the Board of Equalization works with all of the assessors as a whole.
So if I don't like that, I can appeal to you? If they assess something that...
Well, if you don't like your county assessor, you
Right.
can appeal them. They have an assessment appeals board too.
Okay, so if I don't like that response...
Then you can take it further.
Okay.
You can take it up statewide.
Okay.
But there's so many things. If you have an airport in your county, the Board of Equalization sets the week and the rate for how much taxes those airlines have to pay. And so the assessors came to me and said, we don't like this because the Board of Equalization says we're going to take the week of January, the first week in January, and we're going to use that as our basis and set that as the base rate and then base it all on that. And I said, you guys probably prefer the week of Thanksgiving when everybody's flying, the busiest. Oh, yes, we want that one. Well, somewhere out there, there'll be a median to that. Not every county has as much airport business, but it's little small things like that that are the hidden parts of property tax, fees, assessments, how it all goes. The real reason I'm interested in this is for the small businessman, which 98% of businessmen and women, man's a general term. 98% of the businesses in California are quote unquote small businesses. We don't have a lot of big corporations. We certainly don't have many here where we live. But it's the backbone, small business, the backbone of our country, and certainly in the state of California. And they provide the jobs, pay their taxes, do everything that they're supposed to be doing. So that's where it's really tough. A bigger corporation, when these things come up, they have lawyers on staff. But the small guy, and he might get a tax assessment of, if they came into a small business and said, we assessed all that you're doing here, you owe us $8,000 more. Well, the decision is, how do I fight that? Who's going to help me? Who's my advocate? I guess I can pay a lawyer if I can afford it, or I can close my business. And that to me is a tragedy.
For all of us.
Yes,
depending on the business.
Exactly right.
So the small business owner would go to Board of Equalization, not, for example, the Small Business Administration.
Right.
Well, their city, small business.
If it's property tax and your local assessor you would start there. But if it's your business tax and license, like I say, the alcoholic beverage taxes and licenses, those appeals would go to the Board of Equalization. So,
okay. How long is the term of office?
It's 4 years.
Oh, it gives you time to get something done.
It does. I have worked under many systems. I was a county supervisor for the county of Tulare, and I served 2 terms there. They're on our term limits. Like some of us like to say, the election is your term limit. But there are counties that set a term limit. So one county I'm thinking of in particular, El Dorado County, they have, you can serve 2 4-year terms. So when I first became a county supervisor, they have a little training, the California State Association of Counties, which I was honored to serve as president of in 2006. I'm sitting there with 3 brand newly electeds from El Dorado County. Every county has 5 elected supervisors, and 2 that had been on the board for 2 years. So the entire collective experience of that Board of Supervisors was 4 years between those 5 supervisors. So, you know, it's a double-edged sword any way you look at it. Really, term limits, you know, started because of Willie Brown. God bless him, and I read his column every week. He's still going. He was a master politician. That man, I have to praise him for that. And there are so many stories. We don't have enough time, but I can tell you good stories because, after serving on the Board of Supervisors, then I decided to go to ran for the state legislature and was lucky enough to be elected. And the term limits changed while I was there. So originally, you could do 3 2-year terms in the Assembly, and you also have 2 4-year terms in the Senate, making for a term of 14 years altogether that you're eligible for. But then they changed the rules, and they got people to vote for the rule change by saying, we're going to cut them back, those crazy legislators. So now it's 12 years. So it wasn't a lie. You were reducing it. However, you can serve 12 years. You can split it between the 2 houses, or you can be in one house for 12 years. So in other words, you can go in the Assembly, and if you can get elected 6 times, you can serve your whole 12 years in the Assembly. You could do the same in the Senate with 3 terms. You can mix it up. It would just be the circumstances, you know, whatever happened. So there's a debate on, you know, whether term limits are healthy or not. But you know, the 2-year term, which is Congress or the Assembly, you're just constantly running for office.
Yeah, that's
so
so short.
How does anything get done?
Yeah.
Yeah, the 4-year term, I mean, I'm really okay with that.
Yeah.
So,
Go ahead.
question for your staffing for the State Board of Equalization. Are you folks provided with that as the elected people, or is there a group of folks who are run the department, and you folks, what role do you play, and what role does the staff play?
The staff is integral to anything that happens in an elected place anywhere. But there have been recent changes because of these changes at the Board of Equalization and a creation of a new job. So there used to be 600 employees at the Board of Equalization.
For the state?
Yes, in Sacramento. They took about 500 of those employees and put them into the new bureaucratic department that they created. So that leaves about 100 working for the BOE in Sacramento. There is staff out in the field, and there's field offices up and down the state. But so now this is another big question. It's budget time. So now the Board of Equalization is on the line. You know, I had to tell the governor the other day, Governor, I'm trying to appreciate what you're doing here, but you're making it really hard because you're going to cut more out of the budget, you're going to cut staff. And so in our district, this District 1, the term that I'm seeking, it's 30 counties. It's 61% of the land mass. In order to cover that by myself would be a very difficult job. Yeah. So hopefully there'll be some staff left so you can have folks out in the field to do training, to let people know that the Board of Equalization actually exists, to let them know what is happening with taxes, what you can do about your taxes. I think our role will really be, there'll still be jobs to do, but the advocacy is really how I look at this now. How can I go? And I really appreciate this opportunity to talk to you tonight and to let folks know about what's happening out there. And I feel like that will be the most important part of the job. There'll be other things to do, but is letting people know that this actually exists and how it exists for them. It exists for the taxpayers.
I'm bothered by the thought that if there's a problem with the Board of Equalization, not only are the officers elected, but then you fix the problem. This other entity that's being put in place, first off, it sounds like this is an edict from the governor. This is not something we get to vote on, right? He's just saying, I'm establishing this other.
Yes.
And we, as the voters, don't have any say about this other. It's sort of like you already have an existing entity. You just need to fix it a little, not start something new that we don't have any say over. This is bothersome to me.
Well, that's what happens when you have a supermajority. The super get to do what
that's
they
true.
want to do.
That's true.
And so, yeah, that's
you hit the nail on the head.
Is there anything as citizens, if other people are concerned like I
yeah,
am?
vote them out.
Brown? But
No,
he's
no,
almost-
no. I'm talking about the people who allowed for him to have that opportunity to have that slush fund, if you will, over there.
Yeah.
Well, it's-
Legislators.
What
it's
do we
gonna
do
come-
if we want the Board of Equalization to stay in place.
You are asking good questions, and I'm
Well, I'm
gonna
very
run you
bothered
for
by that.
something. I don't know what you want to run
I'm
for.
lazy. They can't get me to show up here. But I will write a letter. I will write a letter, and I will make phone calls. And it just, I'm very bothered. But I'm really glad you're here
Go
tonight
ahead.
because I would not have known.
I'm gonna run your
about this
campaign. I don't care if you
situation.
want to run or not. Well, so interesting that you say that. Like I say, you guys are asking fabulous questions. It's my understanding. I still have former staff in Sacramento, and you hear things. I believe in 2020, you will see on your ballot, placed there by the legislature, Board of Equalization isn't doing anything. Let's just get rid of it.
Okay, so we need to be paying attention.
You will, and if I am lucky enough to be your advocate or to be your representative, I'll make sure I'll make sure everybody knows, because it's just not the. I'm really bothered by many things, but also the way they did this. Legislation, almost
Yeah.
under cover of darkness, nobody really knew. And yeah, they were mad. They were mad at some of the elected officials. This guy spent too much money on furniture. Well, when you have to buy it through general services, it costs a lot anyway. So if you're bothered by that and that was his big sin, then take the furniture away.
Exactly. You don't get rid of a whole.
Yes.
Baby with the bathwater.
Another gal used some staffers to park cars at a little event she was having, and that wasn't good.
But it's not.
But was it within the
doesn't
same
rise
It's all
to the
fixable.
level of-
Yeah, but was it within the same party, or was it the opposite party that?
It was
Yeah.
him on one side and her on the
Yeah,
other.
yeah.
You know how that is.
Boy.
And what's interesting, I will tell you, that's funny that you say that parties. This running for the Board of Supervisors, there's no letter after your name. People that in the community usually know you, and they'll know kind of where you're coming from. I really enjoyed that. Obviously, when you run for the legislature, there's teams. In this race, there'll be a letter after your name. But for me, I'm really excited about the opportunity, should I be lucky enough, because it's all about the taxpayers. I'm running with a letter after my name, but to me that's not tantamount to the job. What's tantamount to the job is being responsive to the community. Somebody calls and needs me, I'm not going to say, which team are you on? Because I don't care. If you are a taxpayer, you're on my team. Or better yet, if you're a taxpayer, I'm on your team to try and figure out how we can fix your problem, solve the problem, and keep business moving, and keep the economy flowing.
So you're this is a 4-year term. How many people are running for the seat that you're?
4. There are 4 of us.
4
running.
candidates?
Yeah. So on June 5th, 2 people are going to be really happy, and 2 people are going to be not so happy.
Exactly. They got to have the top 2 vote getters, regardless to.
Yeah.
They're going to be
Top 2 will go through.
Wow.
and
So
it's a big territory. I just keep thinking, well, maybe if I've lived long enough, maybe I know more people than the rest of them that are that are
well,
running.
there's obvious you know more than the rest of them. So more people, maybe.
Well.
But, maybe that's a good combination.
Yeah, it's
But,
important.
what you brought to us today brings us a broad spectrum of what that job is all about and how important it is into the business community.
Win, lose, or draw, I'd love to come back.
When you win, come on back.
Oh,
we
yes.
mean,
Well, from your lips to
yeah.
God's ears, I would just say.
Yeah. So anything else we need to know about the State Board of Equalization that would kind of be a bit more sexy? Because people really don't,
No, it's just
we know it's necessary.
Yeah.
But,
it is necessary.
But how do you make
I
it
think.
sexy enough where folks would say, oh, I didn't know it was, that affects me this way. Okay.
I think it's all about the education. I currently have the opportunity to sit on the Community College Board of Governors. I was appointed by Governor Brown 3 years ago to do that.
You shouldn't have said that.
Education. Well, education is a great equalizer,
Yeah.
and it lifts all boats. So, my hope, should I be successful, is just education. Spending a lot of time and get out there and make sure people know the board exists, know what the board can do before they come knocking on your door. Because if you're a small business person, they can just show up and audit your books whenever they feel like it. That's the Bureau of Tax and Revenue now, and I'm not sure what all's going on over there.
Are they a part of the state board of equalization?
No, they took some of the duties away from the state board and created a bureaucracy. So if they're going to put on the ballot in 2020 to let's get rid of the State Board of Equalization, I might just have to put my own ballot initiative up there and say, think before you do this and make sure this is really what you want to do.
Man, politics it can be a dirty game for some time.
It's not for the faint of heart.
No, it's not about whether or not it's a necessary move. It's can we win with this move? And how
can
much
we get away
pushback?
with it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
How much pushback?
Yeah, they're going to give you a lot of pushback because voters are very easily to forget. Well, not necessarily forget, but forget what happened. 6 months ago. By the time 6 months rolls around, they'll be saying, "Oh, that happened. Oh, yeah, I do remember something like that."
So it was a close vote about what they were really going to do with this agency, but in the end, it was the will of the governor and the majority in the legislature. So that's what happened.
So, aside from State Board of Equalization, give us a little insight about how the political machine works. You said it was close, but the governor was able to get them to see his point of view. And so what does the governor have in his toolbox to persuade people to see some things his way? As an example of, is that I don't want to ask that's too hard a question, but
it's not a hard question. And I think it's one that
you've been there before, you've seen it in action. I just want an idea of whether my mindset is right and how.
It is one of the things that angers people the most about politics and fascinates people at the same time. Because it really, especially with a supermajority, which we don't currently have, they do in the assembly. Well, no, you know what? Actually, they don't, because some guys left
got in trouble.
They're in trouble. So those seats aren't full yet.
Okay.
But the night this vote was going down, and it was over on the Senate floor, I was texting with friends and texting members and saying, please don't vote for this. You don't have to do this. So people kind of held off. They weren't voting. It was a long process. There was other people lobbyists that have an opinion on it.
Went on.
Everybody within the floor running around. And then it was getting later and later, and it looked for a while like it would not happen. And I was texting a couple of dear friends and saying, please don't do this. Don't do it. Come on, you could do it. You don't have to do it. Well, when it went on too long, not the governor himself, one of his one of his people kind of came down the Senate floor and just sort of walked around and said, good evening, how's it going? And right after that they took the vote, and guess what? Done deal.
Okay, so that's as close as you can tell
me. Is that the power of persuasion? I don't know.
There's got to be a carrot in there somewhere.
It is always.
Or a stick someplace.
No,
I think it's carrot. You get more with carrots than you can with stick.
When I served as a minority leader, while I was there in the assembly, I spent 4 years as the minority leader. And sometimes my people would complain, what about this, what about that? And I'd have to say, do you understand what this means? I have carrots. But the speaker's got carrots, but he's got a real big stick.
That little room over there that you don't like, you probably thought was the janitor's place. Guess what? That's your new office.
I was pretty much stickless. Carrots, but no sticks.
Okay. Yeah, that's a fabulous education about that. And that's the interesting part about it, when people really understand how the system works. Then they can recognize the shell game when you're talking about taking from the State Board of Equalization and creating another bureaucracy to do some other things with that they never tell you about. But at the end of the day, when you look at what happened to the money, that was the responsibility of that group there. Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh.
You know the old saying, show me the money.
Yeah.
And it is a lot about that. And I think it was Tip O'Neill, famous politician. Yeah. Money is the mother's milk of politics, and it's unfortunate in some ways. And people have asked me, why are you doing this? you've had a long career of being elected in community service. It's exactly that reason. You know, I jokingly say it's an Irish political genetic defect, and an Irishman just likes to fight. You know, you just like to fight. You don't even have to know the people fighting or what they're fighting about. But I say that half kiddingly. But this will be a fight. But to me, it's a fight worth fighting. And I've often said, people, politicians, elected folks, get accused of representing special interest all the time. And as I tell people, it's true. I represent special interest, one and one only, and that's the taxpayers. All honor, praise, and glory. The taxpayers get up every day. They go to work. They pay their taxes, take care of their family, worship at their place of choice. People are so giving. They volunteer in the community. They'll donate if they're able. Sometimes they aren't. And then what they want to do on the weekends is just go to their kids or their grandkids' soccer game, you know, visit with their family. They don't get wrapped up in politics like some of us do. But those are the folks that, to me, make it all worthwhile. I mean, it's representing the taxpayers because you don't know. You pull up to the pump, what are you really paying? What is that tax
Where is it going?
really paying, and where is it going?
Oh, yeah, we're going to have that conversation again.
Yes.
We're out of time, but we certainly appreciate you coming in and sharing
thank you
with us.
so much.
Do you have a
Maybe
website?
it's-
Or
I do. Connie, number 4, BOE.
Okay.
So, yes, and there's information on there, a little video that has me telling my jokes. No, not really. Talking a little bit about, you know, why I'm doing this and what I think it's about. But I can never fight hard enough or long enough for the taxpayers. You just keep the wheels going.
And you know what? So you got it, folks. Connie 4, the number BOE, and actually, the State Board of Equalization may not be very sexy, but it sounds like something we as citizens really need to be paying attention to. You know, we pay attention to the big stuff and the titles that we're familiar with, but this is fascinating. I'm going to go home and read up more on the BOE.
All right.
Or on the ONME network.
There you go.
And I'm running your campaign, whatever it is you decide you're running for. I'm just saying. We got witnesses now. I said that out loud.
Look, I run for Ben and Jerry.
Oh, girl.
Thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate it.
Thank you,
We're gonna
guys.
move the show, but thank you. And we'll take a break and we'll be right back.